All right, we are live. Everyone, this is Dr. Michael Kaye from the Center for Functional Health, and today I'm honored that I have the opportunity to speak with Kira Kraiman, who is a health coach for a well-fed life. So, Kira, welcome to the show. I'm looking forward to speaking to you tonight. It's about some of my favorite topics, but they're kind of tough topics, and we're going to be talking about diabetes and smoking and cardiometabolic disease. So, Kira, welcome. We are live and ready to roll. So, tell us what's happening. How was your day? Good day?
Good day today, yeah. Good day.
Great.
Today's a good day.
Any day above the grass is a good day. So for our listeners, if you can share with us your background, please.
Sure, yeah. So where do I start? I'll try to make a long story short. So I have always been that highly sensitive, empathic person since I was, knee high. Got a degree in psychology, but I used it in a corporate role for about 10 years. So I kind of did the corporate human resources thing for 10 years. I had kids. And then when I was ready to really get back into the working world, I had an opportunity to join the Southeastern Pennsylvania Tobacco Control Project as a health educator. I really pivoted it back into something that was really much more heart-centered for me, which was helping people quit smoking, helping young people, not start smoking. And so I've been with that project for 14 years, working with people. And over the course of that time, I also got certified as a diabetes prevention facilitator. And then more recently, I've become a national board certified health and wellness coach. So, and that's through the National Board of Medical Examiners. It's a fairly new credential for health coaches that really solidifies and makes a rigorous credential for health coaching. So it's a new field, but it's a growing field that basically involves helping people make behavioral change. So I'm very well trained in things like motivational interviewing and positive psychology, and just really trying to help people implement some of these lifestyle changes that we know people need to make to prevent disease and to manage disease. A lot of the things that I'm sure you trying to get your patients to do. Mm-hmm. So my own business is a well-fed life. It's a wellfedlife.org is my website. And I work with groups and individuals on any kind of lifestyle change that they need, whether it's quitting smoking, diabetes prevention, or general health and wellness.
Fantastic.
So that's me in a nutshell.
That's great. That's great. Growing up is, I told you before, my house, they all had diabetes. They all smoked. And, it was just a way of life that was just like their norm. And, it says right on the side of the package of cigarettes, basically something nasty is going to happen to you. But yet, they became addicted and they still did it, right? They still smoked all the time. So, the rates of smoking have increased in the U.S. Would you agree?
Well, they've increased to a point, and then they did start to come down with a lot of different protocols that programs like mine have implemented, prevention and of course, the increased price of cigarettes. So the actual rate of smoking among adults has decreased, but what's happened is the rate of e-cigarette use has increased. So the overall use of what we call tobacco products or nicotine-based products has increased, especially among younger people, which is really disheartening.
Does that include the people who chew tobacco, or younger people chewing tobacco? I mean, do you see a lot of that now?
Not, some. I think there's a lot of information out there about the dangers of doing that. So that rate has kind of gone down a little bit. The young people are really doing the e-cigarettes, the vaping.
Okay. Stuff. And when you look at the e-cigarette to a regular cigarette, is there more nicotine? Is there more? I mean, I know there's a ton of chemicals there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely more nicotine in what we call so the umbrella term for vaping or whatever is it's an e-cigarette or electronic cigarette, and there's a million different kinds now. Different forms, different refillable, not refillable, but they all contain more nicotine in general than a regular cigarette, and that's something that the young people don't realize how much more nicotine they're taking in than if they would smoke a regular cigarette. And a lot of the young people are they have a knowledge that cigarettes are bad, so a lot of them don't smoke cigarettes, but
Okay.
they're getting hooked into the e-cigarettes instead.
Gotcha. So regular cigarette smoking has gone down. E-cigarettes have gone up.
Right.
But so that's a good sign. But then we have diabetes, right? So diabetes seems, at least in my practice, seems to be growing. I mean, we treat a lot of people with diabetes. They come in and we're always talking about nutrition. So what has been your experience with the prevalence of diabetes?
Yeah, that's really where our next big public health problem, well, coronavirus aside, it's our next big public health issue, is the rate of obesity and diabetes, and they kind of get paired together because they're related, is just rising at an incredible rate. I was just, we're looking up my statistics before coming on, and if we continue the way we're going now, by the year 2050, 1 out of every 3 adults is going to have diabetes in this country. 1 out of 3. So,
The cost is huge associated with that,
right.
right?
Oh,
It's not only
absolutely.
health, it's cost as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we know diabetes is related to obesity, and diabetes is related to so many other health conditions. They're all, heart disease, all kinds of other things are, related to that diabetic situation.
Right. It's that whole cardiometabolic thing, even including cancer, as a disease of metabolism as well. I mean, we just see that, growing. So, you know, we can talk about, why the rates of these diseases have gone up. And obviously, the access or the abundance of food, of cheap, unhealthy food, that's another issue, because a lot of my patients say, well, listen, it's expensive to eat healthy. And it is. So, you do the best you can. I mean, you can't buy everything all organic. I mean, unless you're just making just a boatload of money. So, what have you been saying to your coaching clients who say to you, listen, the cost of buying organic food is expensive. What can I do to at least try to make a change?
Right. Great question. And I just wanted to interject in there that one of the other parts of my journey is that I have a real passion for growing food, for supporting local farmers, for environmental protection, and there's a lot of things that tag in with that as far as the best food to eat. I was involved with a local food co-op, and I'm part of a CSA, and so I really talk to people about um, doing the best they can with whatever their budget is, right? So, obviously, not everyone can afford to buy everything organically,
Right.
but there's no question that organic it is preferable just because of the way if you're talking about animal products, the way the animals are raised with the antibiotics and the um, hormones and stuff that are used. We don't want that in our body if we possibly can. So trying to buy our animal products, if we eat animal products organically, is really helpful. And if you can do it, I try to encourage people to do it. I encourage people to purchase the highest quality food that they can afford. And that's a tricky, thing to talk about affording, because we're so used to cheap food now, like you were saying before. We've been conditioned since about the 1950s to that cheap is good, cheap is available. We've been encouraged and taught to buy that way. I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but I'm going to make this up. But we used to spend, I'm going to say, 30 cents on the dollar for food. So every dollar we made, 30 cents of that went to our food. Now it's something like 5 cents on the dollar.
Wow.
So we are, I made that up, but it's something like that, where we have just over time learned or gotten the idea that we shouldn't spend a lot of money on food. It should be cheap. And I think part of it is retraining our thinking a little bit and reprioritizing that, organic, high quality, and for me, I think local, if you can, is preferable. It's more nutrient dense to eat food that was grown around here than food that was picked in South America or California and shipped in.
Right.
Having said that, one of the things I tell people is there's a wonderful resource called the Environmental Working Group.
Yep.
EWG. Yeah, and they put out every year a Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 list. The Dirty Dozen is the top 12 fruits and vegetables that have the most pesticides on them that you probably should really try to buy organic if you can. And then the Clean 15 don't require so much pesticide that you're okay not buying organic.
Right.
So the best quality food you can get within your budget.
Right. But, it's something that comes down to just like, do I eat a source of protein that's not organic or some fruit that is sprayed with pesticide, right? It's, you might as well better go with the protein, right? It doesn't have to be all organic. You do the best that you can do. I mean, some of my patients, I've actually made recommendations of, getting some neighbors together, and if they eat beef, they should look at getting like a whole cow, and it's actually cheaper. You just have to have, the resources, the freezer, to actually hold whatever your cuts are. But some patients have done that and have been successful with that as well. So they have, meat then for a while if they're meat eaters. And, the people who love the vegetables, I think, the CSAs are great. And also the what is it called when you can like purchase like the bruised fruit and vegetables? It's not the prettiest, but it's still, you still get your CSA, and it's delivered to you, or you can pick it up, and it's not like the pretty looking shiny apple, but it's still good vegetable, good fruit. So
right,
it's good to do.
Right, there's a bunch of services like that. I'm ugly fruit or something.
Right.
Ugly fruit. So, yeah.
You can still use it, especially if you do a lot of your smoothies and stuff like that, and it's still perfectly fine. Just clean it, and and if you do buy something that is an inorganic, fruit or vegetable, I always say, you just use that clean. Just wash it well. Is it 100%? No, but at least it's a start. So what do you say to your clients who are like, walking down the aisles of the supermarkets? Listen, you don't understand. I've got to have that Milano cookie. Like, if I don't get that Milano cookie, something bad's going to happen, right? So what kind of tools do you share with them? I mean, obviously it's all marketing. You wouldn't be thinking about the Milano cookie unless you're walking down the aisle and you catch you out of the corner of your eye. So what is it that you share with them, say, hey, other than don't go down the aisle, but then it's like, Mom, Dad, I want this. And now you see it and it's in the house. And before you know it, a row is gone. I'm not saying it happened. I'm just saying, before you know it, a row is gone.
You've heard about it.
I heard about it.
Yeah. So this is a great topic. And I could just go on for hours about it, but I think what I'll say is, so when I work with people, the first thing I give them, one of the first things I give them is my handout called my guiding principles for wellness. And so one of the principles is what I call the 90-10 rule. And I don't know how you're going to feel about this. We'll see, because I know you do a lot of elimination diets and stuff, but the 90-10 rule basically says that 90% of the time we should be eating very nutrient dense, healthy, high quality, mostly plant-based whole grain if you're eating grains, lean protein, foods. And then 10% of the time could be for a Milano cookie or a piece of birthday cake or, the traditional holiday family, you know, meal, foods. That of course is not for if somebody's has diabetes or is dealing with a really, serious medical condition, then that might not fit in so well. But overall, we try to tell people that 90% of the time we eat super healthy, and then there is some room for uh, some of those treats. However, the problem with that is that, especially with things like sugar and white flour products, which convert to just like sugar in our system, they are so addicting. We now can see on brain scans that the receptors in our brain light up when we eat sugar. So I'm really, really cautious about that 90-10 rule when it comes to sugar. Basically, I try to meet people where they're at. That's part of the coaching principle, and then we kind of go from there. So if somebody's eating donuts for breakfast and um, you know pasta for lunch and pizza for dinner, I'm not going to say, well, you have to have a smoothie for breakfast and a salad for lunch and kale for dinner or whatever. We meet people where they're at, and then we make the slower changes. Yeah, it's tough with all the processed food. I work to try to get people away from that and onto the fabulous, nutritious, because then people will feel better, and you'll see how much better you feel when you eat that way than when you eat the Milanos.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do find that even when they, eat what they consider would be like healthy, right? The stuff that maybe like it's marketed to us as healthy, a granola bar or a paleo bar, stuff like that, and it still has that sweet sugar-like content. And it's like, they want another paleo bar, and then they want another paleo muffin, and because it's maybe marketed as keto or paleo, they're under the assumption that it's better for me, and before they know it, like the weight gains on. I've had many patients who've been quote unquote gluten-free, and yet they've packed on the weight, and their gut is even worse. So we see a lot of gut patients, and we find that in my practice, when we do gluten-free, that means we go grain-free. So we knock out, even in the elimination protocol, we knock out even the grains, because that's enough to just set that whole system rolling again, where they want more and more and more and more and more. So we say to the point, when we're doing the elimination protocol, that we even cut out the quote unquote healthy foods, because it's just marketed as healthy. It may not be healthy. It's surely a better choice, than some other things. But when we start doing that as our choice on a daily basis, it's cumulative, and it catches up, like you said. So, but what do we say to that patient that, okay, we give them the 90-10, and I agree, because, don't get me wrong. I love a good sweet, and, I love a good cannoli, but I'm not going to eat any cannoli. But, as they're walking down those aisles, how do we prevent them from reaching out and just grabbing, because it is so accessible? And you do get the coupon for that. You don't get the coupon for the broccoli. You don't always get the coupon for like a salmon. So what do you say to them that's like, here's the tool that you want to use. When you want this, please do this.
Yeah, that's a big. So what I do with people, first and foremost, is we work on a what I call a visioning process. We create a vision of how they want to feel on a daily or weekly basis, how they want their life to look, their best life. How would it be for you to have, your best day? How would you feel? What kind of energy would you have? What would you be able to do that you're maybe not doing now? How would your relationships be? And it's different for everybody, but that's one of the first things we do is I have them do a whole questionnaire about, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what how would you like it to be, and then we come up with a statement at the end, which is kind of their it's their billboard that they're going to keep looking at when they're walking down that aisle and they want to reach for the cookies and the tasty cakes and the pasta and the pizza, that they can look at that billboard and see, okay, I want that. This is what I want more. So I'll just give you an example of my vision statement is to have calm, creative energy so that I can connect with others, be creative, and find the most joy in life. So just throwing that out as an example of a vision statement. So calm, creative energy is what I am going for. And so I know that if I drink a lot of caffeine, I'm not going to have calm, creative energy. If I eat sugar, I'm not going to have calm, creative energy. If I don't exercise, I'm not going to have calm, creative energy. If I don't meditate every morning, all of my lifestyle choices feed into that vision. And so I just as full disclosure, I'm a complete sugar addict. That's part of why I'm doing this. I recognized about a decade ago that I am seriously addicted to sugar. And so that's been a process of, and I still find we're in a global pandemic. I got to say, I found myself kind of, having to regroup on that over the last year and not use sugar to medicate myself. But I know if I eat sugar, I'm not going to have that calm, creative energy, and then I'm going to be distracted when I'm trying to connect with friends. I'm not going to have the energy to I paint. I'm an artist. I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to be a good coach. All that stuff. So that's the first thing. I help people create that vision, and then I use the tools of motivational interviewing and stuff to help people. People will come back to me and say, "Yeah, I know. My goal was to not eat any sugar. Over the 2 weeks since we last met, and I didn't do it." So then we talk that through. Okay, what were the challenges? So it's a really big process of helping people kind of overcome that stuff. But I would say, your question, walking down the aisle, how do we resist? You gotta weigh the pros and cons, and you've got to make the pros of resisting that way more than the cons or the difficulty of resisting.
So it's really getting a good idea about their end game, what they want to look like and feel like, and hopefully based upon that is the reason why they will not pick up that item.
Exactly.
That's great. So listen, this year has been just an oddball, weird year. Nothing anybody could ever have thought about. A lot of people were stuck in the house. The stress level is high. We got the people who didn't eat at all, just worried, and the people who just ate a ton and worried, right? So the ones who ate and worried, the ones who ate, didn't eat and worried. Tremendous amount of stress. What are you sharing with your clients on, how do we deal with that stress, and how do we move forward?
Yeah, and this is stuff I've been sharing before the pandemic too, but it just plays into it even more now. So when we're talking about stress, and we always talk about stress because everyone has stress, and it must be talked about. I am trained in the principles of mindfulness-based stress reduction. I took the course for myself, and then I've been applying it for myself, and then I've been helping clients implement it. And we could spend hours just on that, but to give you a quick overview of that. So mindfulness-based stress reduction is basically where we want to really try to be very present and aware to all of our thoughts, our feelings, our physical sensations in our body around what we call a stressful event. So when we're perceiving that something is causing us stress, take that deep breath. And this is where meditation can really come into play. But take that deep breath and ask ourselves, okay, what am I thinking here? What am I feeling? What emotions are coming up for me around whatever this is? How is that being experienced in my body? You know, are my shoulders tight? Is my chest tight? Do I feel it in my gut? And then, you know, whatever we're seeing or hearing or being aware of, just be with that. Don't have any judgment about it, but just have like that self-compassion. So if I notice that I'm, worrying that I'm going to get COVID, and I'm wanting to eat, candy bars to calm that down. Okay. I notice that I'm worried I'm going to get COVID, and I really want that candy bar, and my chest feels tight and I'm feeling scared. Okay. No judgment on that. That's just how it is for me right now. And then we move into, calming that down. And basically it's that sympathetic nervous system kicking in. So that fight, flight, or freeze kicks in, and we want to just calm that down with some meditation or some walking or some journaling or some talking it out with someone. So there's lots of tools that we can use to calm that down. But the first thing we have to do is even be aware of where we're at, what we're thinking and feeling. The emotional part of everything is so important, and because that's where we tend, we say emotional eating. That's what a lot of people are trying to do with those Milanos is,
Right.
and I'm, at the top of the list for that. Just numb the emotions. So
it goes down easy too. I mean, that's the whole thing. You have to work at eating, vegetables. You have to chew. You have to, masticate and use your jaw, and where a slice of pizza just goes right down and really doesn't require much chewing. And I think people have a tendency to eat those kinds of foods faster, so there's a disconnect on the satiety level, on where the brain and the gut is not working together, and it's like, dude, you were full, 5 bites ago, 5 cookies ago. You could have probably taken 2 and gone away. So I see where there's that disconnect that happens quite a bit with your patients, and with respect to like smoking cessation. Again, you want to say, part of me says, listen, just quit. Now, obviously, it's hard because you're addicted to it. So there's a neurochemical aspect to the addiction. So how are you helping your people who smoke to not smoke anymore?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah. So when I'm working with a smoker, it's the first thing we do is we review the different levels and aspects of the nicotine addiction. And so it really is an addiction to nicotine, which is a drug. It's classified as a stimulant. And so there's a physical component to that addiction. There's a psychological component, and then there's also a social component sometimes. Yeah. So the physical component is receptors in the brain, nicotine receptors. They get very quickly hooked on the drug of nicotine, and the more we smoke, the more we want to smoke. And if we quit, if we just put the cigarettes down and don't smoke anymore, we're going to go into nicotine withdrawal. And so anyone who's tried to quit cold turkey knows what that feels like. It's you get really irritable, you get shaky, you get jittery, you lose your concentration, you get headaches. There's all kinds of physical symptoms of nicotine withdrawal. So for that part of the addiction, we do encourage people to try some nicotine replacement products like the patch or the nicotine lozenge or gum. And my program actually offers free patches to people who take the program. So it's a really nice benefit. So that helps with so people will use, let's say, the patch to just keep those receptors calm. I'm so used to doing this in my class with the receptors. Yeah, keep the receptors calm so your body's not going into withdrawal. And this gives you some time and space to work on the psychological part of the addiction, which is really the harder part to overcome. We can go cold turkey, and in about 48 hours, all the nicotine's out of our system and our body's not in withdrawal anymore. And so we're not like physically addicted to nicotine anymore, but it's that psychological, something stressful happened, I need to light up. I just finished a meal, I need to light up. I just got in my car, I need to light up. I'm having my coffee, I need to light up. All day long, triggers, and then stress being the biggest trigger. So that we have to really unpack with, I help everyone create their own plan for what am I going to do after a meal? What am I going to do in the car? What am I going to do when something stressful happens? And so we work a lot on stress management and using the mindfulness practices. Again, same as really, it's very similar to somebody trying to get off sugar, or any other addictive substance.
Right. Addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter, from gambling to smoking to sugar. It's all addiction. So
right.
With I noticed on your site you focus primarily with women.
Yeah. I mean, I see everybody, but yeah, I tend to draw women in. Yeah. So.
And from the weight loss perspective, from the smoking, the diabetes.
All of it, yeah, all of it. I mean, I would say, for my own clients through a well-fed life, there's almost everybody wants to lose some weight.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody wants more energy. A lot of people have sleep problems. Many of my clients are in that pre-diabetes category. And this is really cool because I don't generally work with somebody who's diabetic other than as sort of an adjunct to whatever other diabetes management. Like, I'm not into managing insulin and glucose and all that. But if someone has been diagnosed with that in that pre-diabetes category, that's really where we can make some traction, because with just some simple lifestyle changes and a 5 to 7% reduction in their body weight,
yep,
they can bring those numbers back down into the normal range.
Yep.
So we do a lot of work with that. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, we run the hemoglobin A1C on all the patients that start because, I want to see that oil light on sooner rather than later, right? It's not. I don't want the oil light on, then it gets burned out, then we're in trouble. So I think getting them in that pre-diabetic state is that oil light, that warning light going on. You can really do something with it. So I think
I like that. I like that analogy, the oil light.
Yeah, I mean, listen, your oil light goes. Listen, it's somebody in their car. If the oil light goes on, they are on top of it right away, right? For their own body, they've been getting the signs. The walking up the steps is a little bit harder. The pants fit a little bit snugger. I'm having a little difficulty getting out of my car. And there's all these little things that are warning signs that, they don't recognize as warning signs. But
right.
You stay on top of them, and you can have a great life, a great outcome, and you don't, and you won't. And that's the problem. So as we wind up, what would you like to leave our fan base with here? What would you like to say to them, especially in the setting of COVID and the stress that everybody's had, and what kind of tips can you share with us moving forward?
Moving forward, yeah. I mean, so I think there's light at the end of the tunnel for sure. There's a lot we don't know in terms of COVID, but there's certainly progress, and I think we're gonna be moving out of it into whatever our new normal is going to be, and we don't know what that quite looks like yet. But COVID or no COVID, I think that what I want people to know is that we need to have a lot of compassion for ourselves. We are a nation, I think, of a society of people who push really hard, push ourselves really hard to be productive and to be successful and to be this and that and the other, and to somewhat beat ourselves up when we don't do the things that we think we should be doing. And I think I really want to encourage everybody to just take a step back, just be really compassionate with yourself for whatever you're working on, whatever you're feeling stressed about, whatever feelings you're having. It's kind of like, I remember this book that I used to read to my kids. It was called Today I Feel Silly. I think that's what it's called. And the running line through the book is, whatever I'm feeling inside is okay. So, if we're feeling scared and nervous and whatever about COVID or whatever else it is, that's okay. If we're feeling sad about things, that's okay. Just having that compassion for ourselves will allow ourselves to open up and start to work on some of these lifestyle things. And it's really, at least in my perspective, it's a process. It's a process of setting a small goal, working on the goal, and then internalizing your success at making that goal. So maybe if you don't exercise at all, adding in 10 minutes a day of something, or 10 minutes 3 times a week of something is a start. And then you get some success with that, and you go, oh wow, that feels really good to take a 10-minute walk 3 times a week. Let me do it 4 times a week. It's building on the success. And the other thing I want to leave, maybe this is my final point. I have so many, I could just go on and on, but I think the final point I want to leave with is, I really believe that all of us have an intuitive guide inside of us, that wise inner woman or man or whatever being that knows what to do. Like, we know what we should do for our health and wellness and well-being, but we don't always listen to it. So if we can get really quiet and listen to that, and let that be our guide, I think that will take us a long way. And that's not to say that it's not challenging. It's not to say that stuff doesn't get in the way. Sometimes our families get in the way. The family wants the Milanos in the cabinet, and we don't. And I work with a lot. That's a lot of what I do, is helping people navigate that. But you stay true to your own internal guide and your own internal wise person. That'll carry you a long way.
Love it. Love it. And one last time, if you can mention your website.
Yes, it's A Well-Fed Life, all one word, awellfedlife.org.
Great.
Excellent. I'll
in there. So I'll put your website in the replay as well.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Listen, thank you so much for spending the time with us on a Tuesday evening. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to doing one of these again. So hang out for one sec.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.